Dirt. 20 minutes for lunch. What are you trying to do, impress the boss?
I bought a birthday present for my mother. I'm trying to hide it before she comes out of the bag.
You just stand right there, Sonny, with Mama and Papa.
In God's name, take Dorothy says.
Take what you want. Take everything, but call up the dog.
Shut up and stand still.
Here, Sergeant. Just about 1:30. I was right about here when the car comes zooming out at me.
Did you get a good look at the driver?
Zoom! Almost took the laces out of my shoes.
The driver, Mr. Park. Did you see him?
Well, it all happened kind of quick, but I got a fast look at him, all right.
Could you recognize him again if you saw him?
You find him, Sarge. I'll recognize him. Just ask me.
Okay, thank you.
Years old. So young. And a good son, Sergeant.
Margaret, please.
A robber's bullet. You must find that murder, Sergeant.
We'll need your help.
Anything. Anything we can do.
First of all, a description of the man.
Well, with that thing over his head it was like he had no face.
Well, what about his height, his build? Any unusual mannerisms?
Well, there is one thing I can tell you. He knew about diamonds. Only took the good ones.
Diamond expert, a trained dog. There can't be too many hold-up men like that.
You know, Dan, it seems to me, I remember a stick-up man a couple of years ago with the same M.O.
M.O.?
Yes, that's a police term, modus operandi, the way a criminal operates. In this case, he used a dog.
Oh, what a dog. Worse than the gun.
Yeah, we hardly even looked at the gun. It was as though the dog had us by almost hypnotized.
What kind of a dog was it?
A German Shepherd. Big, savage.
Were there any markings, any way of identifying the animal?
In color, brown, I think.
No. It was gray. Gray like a wolf.
Well, anyway, you were sure it was a German Shepherd?
Yes. But don't forget that kind.
What my wife means is in Amsterdam during the war, the Nazi occupation, the SS troops used this breed of dog. We know it only too well.
They gave them a special training. Oh, very special training.
Yes, attack training, they call it.
I'm going to make it another case. Might be a tie-up.
Right. Well, looks like the dog is our best lead. We'll check it out. I'm sorry I had to ask you so many questions. I know it's been difficult.
Promise me that you'll find that murderer. Promise me, Sergeant.
What can I do for you?
Well, we're looking for a particular German Shepherd. Full grown, probably had attack training.
Gee, I'm afraid I can't help you. I got about 3 customers with shepherds. I know a couple more around here. Puppies, though, mostly. And none with attack training.
Thanks a lot.
Say, you could try the Ritter kennels over in the valley. They specialize in German shepherds.
Read it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We got a couple of browns and some grays, too.
Is that one attack trained?
Him?
Yeah.
That big slob thinks he's a lapdog. None of these had that kind of training. We couldn't keep them down here together if they did.
Why's that?
Well, they tear each other to pieces in no time at all. No time.
Oh, wait a minute. What about that brown one? He been attack trained?
Light brown. Fawn colored, we call it. Yeah. He's been attack trained. That's why Mr. Ritters keeps him by himself.
Oh, you're not Mr. Ritters?
Me? No. I'm just a flunky around here, that's all. Just one step over them dogs, that's all. But Lynn Kruger's my name.
Can we have a look at him?
Sure. Easy boy. Easy boy. I get along with him better than anybody I know. And vice versa. Down, boy. I told him everything he knows.
See your dog?
Nope. He's just a boarder. Been here about 6 weeks or so.
Who's the owner?
Some big shot movie producer. I believe he's making a picture in Europe.
That dog been off the premises in the last couple of days?
No. He ain't left his run since the day he come here. Do you mind telling me what this is all about?
Yeah, a dog like this was used in a holdup yesterday. He kept the victims from moving.
What? Well, there's a new idea.
Not as new as you think.
I don't know, Nick. The guy's only been out of prison a couple of months. I doubt if he'd pull the same kind of job.
We're police officers. Is your husband at home?
Not yet. He's working. Is anything wrong?
Well, we just want to ask him some routine questions. Can we come in?
May I ask why you're here?
Yes, we understand your husband used to be a jewelry salesman.
That was 4 years ago. Before he got into trouble. I'm sure you folks know all about that.
Janeway, do you still own the same dog?
No? Another one.
May we see it, please?
He's with my husband.
You said your husband was at work.
My husband is a salesman. He drives around a lot. Sometimes takes Jonesy along with him. Is that some kind of crime?
We're just looking for a little information, that's all.
Well, why must you do your looking here? Tom hasn't done anything.
Well, he went to prison for robbing a couple of jewelry stores, using a dog as an accomplice.
That was 4 years ago. I was in the hospital and Tom was out of work. He got desperate, scared, went kind of crazy and... Look, he went to prison for it. How long does the man have to keep paying? He's got a good job now and he's trying to make it work. For the love of heaven, give him a chance.
Stay! Well-trained dog. How long have you had him?
Since Tom got out of prison.
Come on, boy.
Hi, honey.
They're police officers, Tom. Just routine questions.
I guess we can expect that sort of thing.
Well, I don't expect it, and I don't like it. Don't we have any rights?
It's all right now, honey. Take it easy. It's okay.
Janeway, can you tell us where you were yesterday afternoon between the hours of 1 and 3?
Well, he was working.
That's right. I was driving around selling customers. I sell wholesale hardware now. I got the job through the parole board.
Which customers were you with?
Let's see, between 1 and 3. As a matter of fact, I was between customers. I just finished selling a man in Long Beach, and my next stop was in Glendale.
2 hours from Long Beach to Glendale?
No, I had a flat tire. I had to crawl off the freeway.
To a garage?
No, as I drove off on the side road, fixed it myself. I told you about it last night. I didn't remember.
Yes, he did.
So between the hours of 1 and 3, you were alone on the side road?
Long Beach Freeway near Downey.
Can anyone corroborate that?
You just heard. I can.
Oh, no, you can't, Mrs. Janeway. He simply told you about it.
Did you have your dog with you?
Well, yes. Lois was going to be away all day, so I took Jonesy with me.
What kind of gun do you own, Mr. Janeway?
Gun. I'm a pro-Lee. Owning firearms is a violation.
You didn't answer the question.
Well, I don't own a gun. Now, what the devil's this all about?
A jewelry store holdup. Man was shot and killed. The suspect used a dog. German Shepherd.
Now, look, I went to the pen 4 years ago for that sort of thing. Now, you think I'd be stupid enough to do it again?
How old is your dog, Mr. Janeway?
About 2 years old.
How would you describe his color?
Fawn. Look, I swear to you that I don't know anything about this.
Did you train him yourself?
Well, he was pretty well trained when I got him. I taught him a few commands.
Watchdog training?
Attack training?
I guess a little.
You'd better come down to headquarters.
What for? Why should he?
More questions, and bring the dog along with you.
You haven't got any right to do this. He hasn't done anything wrong. Ask anybody.
Let's go.
don't know. I simply don't know.
Well, with the mask, it's impossible to tell. Yeah, boy.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's him, number 3.
Number 3, step forward. Take off your mask. Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure?
Dog. How could I forget that terrible dog?
You told us the dog was gray.
Yeah, but I said it was brown. Light brown, like that one.
Stake my life on it. That's the dog. That's the man.
Well, Sergeant Anderson, let me ask you this. How was Dirk Van der Herven murdered?
According to our ballistics expert, he was killed by a bullet from a .38 caliber revolver.
And did you question the defendant about the murder weapon?
Yes, sir. He claimed he never owned a gun. Any gun.
He denied owning a gun.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant, do you recognize this document?
Yes, it's a police department copy of a license to carry a gun.
Mm-hmm. And how does it affect this case?
Well, it states that a .38 caliber revolver was registered to Thomas Janeway in June 1957.
Sergeant? Will you tell the court, please, where the getaway car was found?
About 3 miles from the jewelry store.
And what did you learn about that car, Sergeant?
Well, we learned that it was a stolen car, and the lab men found dog hairs in the back seat. They matched perfectly with Mr. Janeway's dog.
And was there anything else?
Yes, the window washer, Mr. Luke Parton, identified the car as the one used by the murder suspect.
Sure. I saw the man at the wheel. That's him over there. Thomas Janeway.
The man kills your son. You don't forget him that quickly. Even in my sleep, I hear his voice.
And have you heard his voice in this courtroom, Mr. Van der Herven?
Yeah, I have. His voice. The man on trial.
Him. I'd recognize him in your place. He murdered my son.
Thomas Janeway, in accordance with the laws of the state of California and the power vested in me as presiding judge, I hereby sentence you to the penalty of death. And I direct that you be delivered to the warden at San Quentin prison, and that on a date and time specified, you will be put to death in the manner prescribed by law. This court stands adjourned.
My husband's not a murderer. You are. Oh, Tom. Tom.
Easy, honey, easy. I know it looks bad, but we've got to fight. That's what we've got to do. Now, the lawyer is already filing an appeal.
If that doesn't work?
It's got to work. I didn't kill anybody, Lois. I swear to you.
Oh, I know you didn't, darling. I know.
How could they possibly think I'd do a thing like this twice? I don't even own a gun. What in God's name do I have to do to convince them?
I'll convince them. I will. I know I will.
How? What can you do?
I'll do something. Anything. I won't let them take you away from me, Tom. I won't.
Seems I've spent most of our marriage away from you, Lois.
Oh, you made a mistake.
But you paid for that. And you came back and there was a future. Something to live for. But this is so wrong. So terribly wrong.
It'll be all right, honey. It'll be all right.
Nick?
Yeah?
Where's Kirby?
Going steady with a shoplifter.
Hasn't he booked her yet?
Oh, she's beautiful. He'd like to tail her for another day or so.
Your plan, Sergeant?
I can see that no matter what they are, I'd better cancel them.
Yeah, check this out, will you? Orange Street Motel. Some guy ran his car into the pool. He isn't even registered there.
Oh, excuse us, Sergeant Anderson.
Good morning.
Show him the letter, Otto.
All through the night, sir. Every hour, that woman had us on the telephone.
Calling us murderers, killers,
Oh.
liars.
And now this. By special delivery this morning, read it for yourself.
Your lies have condemned an innocent man to death. Murdering my husband won't bring back your son.
Mrs. Janeway. All night long, Sergeant, she had our phone ringing.
She has no right, Sergeant. We did what we had to do. We told the truth. All we want is to forget now.
Well, this kind of thing often happens when there's a death sentence. I'm sure once the shock of it wears off.
Sergeant, we saw our son murdered in front of our eyes. And now at the trial, every day we had to live through that nightmare. Again and again. And now this. We understand. We sympathize with that woman, but what can we do? How much of this can we take?
Her husband killed our son. Now, do we have to suffer for that?
Of course not. I'll see what I can do.
No. Thank you, Sergeant.
Don't you ever quit, Sergeant?
I was here earlier, Mrs. Janeway. You weren't home.
Am I required to report to the police?
No, but what you're doing can cause a lot of trouble.
Just for the record, I've been out looking for a job. And it's funny, nobody wants to hire the wife of a murderer.
Miss Janeway, this letter you wrote to the Vanderhooven.
Well, they didn't waste any time filing their complaints to the police, did they? Where do I go to register my complaint, Sergeant? Those people lied on the witness stand.
That's simply your opinion. It gives you no right to persecute them.
How can they be so sure it was Tom? They were frightened by the gun, frightened by the dog. Their son was killed. The man's face was covered. How could anyone be that sure?
It wasn't only their testimony that convicted him.
Oh, no. That's right. It was yours, too. All that business about the gun.
He told me he had no gun.
He bought that gun before I even knew him. When he first went into the jewelry business, he got rid of it years ago. But the jury wouldn't believe that. They couldn't wait to convict him.
The evidence against him was conclusive.
The evidence? Tom wasn't convicted on the evidence. It was his record that did it. He used a dog once, years ago, so naturally he couldn't wait to get out and do it again. Ex-convicts are always guilty, aren't they?
Mrs. Janeway, your husband has a good lawyer. His case is up for appeal right now, if there's any question about the verdict.
My husband's condemned to die. I don't have time to fight by the rules anymore. Maybe you're some kind of machine. Man's life doesn't mean anything to you. But I love my husband. And I intend to fight. Every way I know. No holds barred.
Better go check in.
Right. Let me have a hamburger, Tony, and coffee.
Coats? What's the matter? Thank you. Janeway again.
Yep. Janeway again.
Look, Nick, we did our job, the courts did theirs, right?
You know, Danny boy, there are times when I'd like to trade this job in for a lifelong position in a putty factory.
You know Janeway got every break in the book. He had a good lawyer. It was a fair trial. There was never any doubt.
That's just what bugs me. There was never any doubt. Everybody was so positive about everything.
His wife's been needling you again, hasn't she?
That's right. And she's positive, too. She's positive he's innocent.
Will you stop bleeding? It's your lunch hour.
Why don't you call Roebuck, have him pick you up?
Where are you going? What about your hamburger?
I'd rather bleed on an empty stomach. Nice shot, Jerry.
Oh, it's you?
Yeah, your secretary said you'd be here.
Yeah, well, I do this for relaxation once in a blue moon to get away from office cares and from cops who want to check in the closed cases.
Look, Jerry, like I told you on the phone.
When I hung up on you, you mean?
The man is scheduled to die in a couple of weeks.
Nick, I already told you. The DA's office is short-handed. We can't even keep up with the current stuff. Janeway's attorney is the one to look into clemency or an application for retrial or anything like that.
His wife is the only one who's still fighting.
You're telling me.
Oh, I admit she's not very tactful.
Not tactful? She's a blooming nuisance. Nick, every murderer who ever went to the death house has a wife, a mother, a sister, or a girlfriend who says he couldn't have done it. Come on, you know me. Why, I'd move heaven and earth to get Janeway a new trial if it was a matter of perjury or violation of civil rights.
It's not that, Jerry. It's all that stuff we dug up for you that worries me.
Oh, great. Miraculous. We got a cop on the force that knows more about the rules of evidence than the Supreme Court of the state. Now, look. Let me get back to my pitiful attempt to keep my body and spirit in working condition. Nick. Lay off, pal. It won't look good on your record.
What won't, Jerry?
An official complaint.
Sure, I remember you. Janeway's arresting officer. Cross-examined you at the trial. Well, what's on your mind?
I want you to understand, Mr. Aubrey, I'm doing this entirely on my own.
Doing what?
I'm curious to know what steps you're taking in the Janeway case.
Steps? I've run out of steps, Sergeant. The man's guilty.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but don't you think there were a lot of loose ends at the trial?
Loose ends. And the jury tied them all together in a nice little noose for my client.
Hey, the window washer, for instance. Now, he was almost run over by the car. He only had a split second to see who the driver was, yet he swears it was Janeway.
Look, I went all through that in a cross-examination. The jury preferred to believe him.
And the Vanderhoovens, when I first talked to them, he said the dog was brown, she said it was gray.
Oh, Sergeant, the case is closed, finished. The man's been convicted and the appeal's been denied.
Yeah, but you could still file a request for clemency.
Now, listen. I would have given my left eyeball to win this case. By the way, the newspapers played it up. I would have been the biggest thing since the hula hoop. And I tried. I went all the way, the whole route, and I fell flat on my habeas corpus. I can't afford to spend the rest of my life on a closed case, and neither can you.
So the man's one jump away from the gas chamber.
Look, what the devil do you expect of me? You want a crusader, you're in the wrong office. I'm here to make a living, not history. Aubrey speaking. It's for you. What do you have to do? Tell him everywhere you go?
Anderson. All right, I'll stop there on my way back. You know, if this keeps up, you're going to have yourself another client. Mrs. Janeway.
No, Mrs. Phillips. Actually, I find that that's not a difficult thing at all, really. All we have to do here is to
See?
Look, I show you. Have a look here.
Every day at this time, since the trial, she sits out there staring at us. How much more of this can we take? I don't sleep, I don't eat.
Every day at the same time.
Just before 1:30, the time our son was killed. You must make us stop this foolishness, Sergeant.
Well, you leave that to me, Mrs. Phillips, and I assure you, you will never realize that the baguettes are being removed. So, I have it ready for you by next week, Mrs. Phillips. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Have you received any more phone calls, any more letters?
Every day another letter, sometimes 2, 3.
It's wrong what she's doing, Si. So we were to blame for our husband's guilt. Get rid of her, please. Hmm?
I'll do what I can.
What are you going to do, Sergeant? Turn the hose on me?
You know, there's a city ordinance against loitering, Miss Janeway.
I'm not loitering. I'm here for a specific purpose.
These people have had more than their share of punishment.
Oh, and that does make them infallible, doesn't it? Incapable of one small mistake. Then why does my presence bother? Is it their conscience?
They're honest, decent people. They didn't mean to hurt you or your husband.
I had a letter from Tom yesterday. The man next to him went to the death cell. The ink is blotted. Even his handwriting's different. Here, take it. Show this to your honest, decent people.
Did you see that?
What?
Now, do me a favor. Take your car, drive around the corner, and come out this alley. Go ahead, do as I say.
Good, you got rid of her. Good riddance.
You step out here for a moment, both of you. Follow me, please. Now, this is where Luke Parton was standing when he saw the car, right?
Please, we have to go through it again.
About 1:30, just about the time the killer was making his getaway.
Please, Sergeant, that's
Now,
enough.
you stand right there. I want you to tell me if you can identify the driver of this car. Don't turn around. Now, who was at the wheel?
Well, it was Mrs. Janeway's car.
You didn't see the driver.
The sunlight was too strong on the windshield.
Then Luke Parton couldn't have seen him either.
But he said...
He had even less time to look than you did. The car was going much faster.
Well, do you think perhaps that Luke lied? No, Luke would never lie over a thing like that.
You know what the word suggestible means? Yeah. Well, he may have been a little too eager to identify somebody, a little too eager to name the killer.
And you might have done the same thing.
Well, Mrs. Janeway, we admit that we are not perfect, but in the excitement, the confusion, sometimes an honest mistake.
We made no mistake. Janeway killed our son.
But, Mara,
We said it in the courtroom. We say it now.
Are you that hungry for revenge? Take her away from you, Sergeant, and keep her away.
An honest mistake. Isn't that what you said, Mr. Vanderhooven? Well, Luke Parton might have made one. And you might have made one.
We made no mistake. Now that's enough. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't say anything.
No.
Nothing.
Mr. Vanderhooven.
No more. Nothing.
Don't let Tom die, Sergeant. Not for that. Not for an honest mistake.
Mrs. Janeway, I haven't had a chance to really study this transcript. But from what I have read, your husband's attorney did everything that could be done.
But he lost the case, Mr. Egan.
But under the circumstances...
The circumstances. Look, Tom was convicted before he ever went to trial by the press. And the jury was prejudiced by his prison record. And the witnesses lied on the stand.
Well, there's no proof they lied.
Well, what about Luke Parton? He couldn't have identified Tom as the man driving that car. The sunlight on the windshield.
Yes, Nick Anderson told me about that.
Well, doesn't it matter? Isn't it enough to establish reasonable doubt at least?
Possibly, but one doubtful testimony is hardly enough to reopen a case.
Well, what about the Vanderhoovens? They're the ones that identified my husband as the murderer, and now they're not as positive as they used to be.
Did they admit that?
Oh, no, they didn't have to. You should have seen them yesterday, the way they acted and looked and talked.
Now, we call that witness remorse. It's a common reaction, especially in a murder trial.
Their son was killed, Mr. Egan. That's why they lied. They want revenge. They want to blame someone. Anyone.
And you want them to be lying.
Look, Tom's going to die because of their lies. And he's innocent. Won't you help us, Mr. Egan?
Mrs. Janeway, I've waged a private war for years against the gas chamber. If I thought there was a chance to help your husband...
I see. Well, I'm sorry to have taken up so much of your time.
Yes? Oh, sure. Send him in. Mrs. Janeway, Sergeant Anderson is here. About your husband's case.
Yes, he's been here before. It didn't seem to do much good.
Janeway? John, take a look at this. Just came off the wire.
Is it something about Tom?
Yes, it is. There was another jewelry store robbery in Glendale. Man used a German Shepherd. Same M.O. as your husband.
Mrs. Janeway, would you mind leaving that transcript here? No promises, no commitments. I'd just like to study the case more carefully.
I was standing here, Mr. Egan. I was about halfway down the window when I heard the gunshot. Scared the daylights out of me.
What did you do then?
Well, I put my stuff down, and I head for the front door like this. Kind of careful like, you know. Then I heard the getaway car coming down the alley.
You knew it was a getaway car?
Well, not exactly, but it ain't often a car zooms through the alley like that. Anyway, I turn, and I run for the alley. I get about here, and the car comes. Hey!
Mr. Parton, who was driving that car?
What is this?
Describe the driver, Mr. Parton.
Well, it looked like a prowl car. Sure, the driver was a policeman.
A policeman?
Yeah.
Uniformed? Plain clothes?
Plain clothes.
Anyone you know?
Maybe it was that Sergeant Anderson. Nick?
It's now 1:33, about the same time you said you saw the getaway car. You and I, Mr. Pardon, have some work to do.
Mr. Egan, Lois and I talked about coming to see you when this first happened. We just couldn't afford to.
Mrs. Janeway told me. Sit down, Tom.
Thank you.
I've got the letter with you. I don't usually take cases after conviction.
Mr. Egan read the transcript. He thinks there's a chance for a new trial.
A chance, Tom. An outside chance. I can't promise any more than that.
Well, that's more than I had 5 minutes ago.
Now, we've had a couple of interesting developments the last day or so. Another jewelry store was robbed by a man with a German Shepherd. He used the dog as a weapon.
See, there's a chance.
He may be just a crackpot who got the idea from the newspapers.
Oh, I bet he's a man.
Another thing, Luke Parton, one of the witnesses, stands ready to retract his testimony. On that basis, I've filed a writ for the appointment of what we call a special master.
What's that?
Well, he's usually a retired judge who's appointed to hold informal hearings. If I can shoot enough holes in the evidence, he may recommend that the verdict be set aside.
Well, that would mean another trial.
The whole messy business all over again. And it could mean a second conviction.
Well, what if I get to lose?
There may be a simpler way to save your life. We could petition the governor for a commutation of sentence. That might work.
You mean life in prison?
Better than the gas chamber, isn't it?
I don't want to spend my life here for something I didn't do. I didn't kill anybody, and Mr. Egan, I swear to you, I want out of this place. All the way out.
Lois?
Tom's my husband, Mr. Egan. I want him home with me, where he belongs.
All right. I'll do what I can.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson.
Judge Richardson?
How are you, John?
Nice to see you, sir. You're looking well.
Thank you. Pretty good.
Better show a real cause on your writ for retrial, Irish. Otherwise, I'll ask the police department to pin Nick Anderson's ears back.
Mr. Egan, why are they holding it here?
Well, the judge is retired. It's perfectly legal. This living room becomes a courtroom.
Well, I think we're ready to begin. Millie, dear, just leave the coffee and let the people help themselves. The state Supreme Court has asked me to sit as special master, and presumably they'll act on my recommendation. You may proceed, Mr. Egan.
Your Honor, 4 years ago, Thomas Janeway, the defendant, was convicted on a charge of robbery. He employed a unique modus operandi involving the use of a trained dog who held his victims at bay. When Mr. Janeway was arrested on this current charge, his previous crime was widely publicized by newspapers, radio, and television. I submit these newspaper clippings in evidence. The dog bandit returns. Is the canine con a killer, too? Killer's accomplice has a wet nose, and so on. I also have tape recordings of local broadcasters and network comedians to offer in evidence. I maintain, Your Honor, that this sensational publicity prevented Thomas Janeway from having a just and fair trial.
Sergeant Kirby, during the course of your investigations, what did you learn about the defendant's Army career?
He served in Korea with the K-9 section of the Quartermaster Corps.
And in what capacity?
Training dogs for guarding depots and POW compounds. Attack training, they call it.
Hmm? Now, Sergeant, at the time of his arrest, did Mr. Janeway own a dog?
Yes, he did. The German Shepherd.
And was this dog attack trained?
Yes, it was.
Thank you, Sergeant. That's all. Oh, one more thing, Sergeant. As I recall, the murder weapon in this case was a .38 revolver. Did Mr. Janeway ever own a gun of that caliber?
Yes, there was a .38 registered in his name in June 1957.
And how did he explain that?
Well, at first he denied it, but then in court he said he carried it for protection when he was a jewelry salesman.
Did you find the gun in his possession?
No. He said it made him nervous. He sold it to some man in somewhere in Ohio about 4 or 5 years ago.
I see. Sergeant, were you ever able to corroborate that story?
No, sir.
Well, thank you, that's all.
Call your next witness, Mr. Egan.
I'd like to call Mr. Luke Parton, Your Honor.
You may stay where you are, Mr. Parton. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give in the case now pending before this court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Your name, please.
Luke Parton.
Mr. Parton, will you kindly read into the record this affidavit signed by you?
In re-trial of Thomas Janeway. Testimony of the undersigned as to positive identification of the above-named defendant was false. Accordingly, the undersigned does now declare that should he testify under oath, he would testify that he was unable to so identify said Thomas Janeway as a participant in the commission of a crime. Signed, Luke Parton.
Thank you, sir. Did you sign this affidavit of your own free will?
Yes, sir. I asked to sign it.
May it please the court. May I remind this witness that the penalty for perjury is...
May it please the court. This witness has demonstrated his good faith by voluntarily signing this affidavit. What Mr. Miller construes as perjury can also be interpreted as extreme suggestibility. Mr. Parton's desire to cooperate with the law was stronger than his good judgment. There was no deliberate intent to deceive, sir.
I'm inclined to agree, Mr. Egan. Have any questions, Mr. Miller?
Yes, I have, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Parton, did you or did you not see Thomas Janeway drive a car at or near the scene of the crime?
I saw somebody in that car. I'm not sure it was Janeway.
Your Honor, I still submit it does not rule out the possibility that Thomas Janeway was driving that car. And when the vehicle was found later, there were dog hairs in the back seat that matched up with Thomas Janeway's German Shepherd.
I'm aware of that, Mr. Miller. Mr. Egan?
I call Martha Vanderhooven, sir.
Rise, please. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give in the case now pending before this court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name, please.
Martha Vanderhoeven.
Please be seated.
Mrs. Vanderhooven, I understand you and your family had a difficult time in Europe during the war.
My son was born in a concentration camp.
Must have been a terrifying experience. You escaped from that camp, didn't you?
Yes, we escaped. Otto and Duke and I. Then we came to the United States to give our son a good life. Now he's dead.
I'm sorry. After what you've been through, you've a right to be bitter.
I've no bitterness. Only regret. Regret that a good boy is dead while his murderer is still alive.
This murderer, he held you at bay with a gun and a trained dog. A horrible experience.
It was a nightmare.
Mrs. Vanderhooven, I know how difficult this is for you, but I must ask you to describe the man who murdered your son.
Again? How many times must I live through it?
The defendant's life is at stake here, Mrs. Vanderhooven. He must be given every opportunity to...
His life. How about my son's life? What opportunity did he have?
The witness will please answer the question.
Once again, would you describe the man who murdered your son?
He wore something over his face. A nylon stocking, I think.
What color was his hair?
Dark, I think.
You think? You're not sure? His eyes?
Well, I couldn't see.
His nose, then, was it long or short?
That thing over his face, it twisted his features.
Well, all right. What about his clothes? Was he wearing a suit or a jacket?
A sweater.
A sweater? What color?
Black, I think.
Black, or was it navy blue?
Maybe blue. I don't know.
Was it a slip-over sweater, or did it have buttons?
I'm not sure. So much was happening. The gun, the dog.
You were frightened?
Yes.
The dog was growling, the man was threatening you with a gun, and your son came in, leaped at the man.
Oh, please, no.
Is this the man? Is this the man who murdered your son?
Yes.
You didn't see his face? You can't recall his clothing? You were frightened and distracted by a vicious dog and a man with a loaded gun, and you sit there and...
He killed my son.
How do you know, Mrs. Vanderhooven? How in heaven's name can you be sure?
She isn't sure. She doesn't know. Martha, tell them. Tell them the truth. We don't know. We cannot know. We are only guessing.
Now look, Roebuck, forget the pawn shops. They've been covered. Concentrate on the fence. I don't care which ones, any of them, all of them. Right, you check out all their new merchandise. They don't cooperate, you pull them in. Okay, keep in touch.
Listen, Sergeant.
Well, hello, Molly.
I was in Sam's pawn shop hawking the family jewels. Since when is that a crime against society?
This bracelet, Nick, was last seen at that jewelry store in Glendale.
Oh, the guy with the dog.
Yeah.
Where'd you get this, Molly?
A gift. From a dog I know.
Now, Molly, a jewelry store was broken into a couple of days ago. This may be one of the stolen articles.
So that pawnbroker blew the whistle, huh? Next time I take my business around the corner.
Now, the man who gave you this is probably a thief, and he's also probably a murderer.
A murderer, huh? He told me that was a present, because he liked me.
Now, what's his name, Molly?
Well, he ain't gonna like me if I tell you what his name...
We'll like you.
You know, you were nicer when you were on the Vice Squad.
Come on, Molly.
All right, all right. All right, his name's Kruger, okay? You happy?
The guy at Ritter's Kennels.
You can go home now, Molly.
Hey, Sergeant! I was only kidding about the Vice Squad.
Lock this up, will you?
Mr. Egan, have you any concluding remarks?
Yes, Your Honor. Tom Janeway has been convicted and sentenced to die by the courts of this state, even though there are at least 3 basic reasons to doubt his guilt. Number 1, it is possible and probable that the jury was prejudiced by the mass of publicity that preceded and attended his trial. Now, the deputy district attorney will argue that in this age of sophisticated communication, a jury cannot operate in a vacuum. I agree, sir. Under these conditions, a jury cannot remain impersonal. Therefore, I ask again, was the jury prejudiced? We cannot be sure. Was the jury not prejudiced? We cannot be sure. And in this climate of doubt and uncertainty, Thomas Janeway was convicted and condemned to die. Second point, Your Honor, the so-called positive identification of Tom Janeway as the murderer. 3 witnesses, Your Honor, who initially supplied that identification have retracted their testimonies. 3 witnesses. Now, the Deputy District Attorney maintains that their testimonies are of minor importance in the case against the defendant. I maintain, sir, that when a man's life is at stake, there is no such thing as minor evidence. Each detail is another strand in the hangman's rope. Weaken one strand, and the whole rope comes loose. Now, if these witnesses cannot be morally certain that Tom Janeway was the man they saw at the scene of the crime, how, in the interest of justice, can a judge and a jury be so positive? And finally, sir, another man committed a crime using the same plan and scheme Tom Janeway used 4 years ago. That man is still at large. Now, he may have been inspired by the headlines, or he may be the murderer of Dirk van der Hooven. We don't know. And until we do know the absolute truth, Tom Janeway's guilt cannot be accepted as a legal fact to a moral certainty. Reasonable doubt, Your Honor. Where there is reasonable doubt, there can be no just and honest conviction.
Mr. Egan, I deeply respect your motives in striving to reopen this case. I know you've done this without fee, and a great sacrifice in time and effort. Mr. Miller, I commend you for your willingness to re-examine the issues in this case. Our system of justice is well served by both you gentlemen. We will adjourn till Monday morning at 10 o'clock. I'll present my findings at that time. This court stands adjourned. And
the baby, it's my baby. My baby. Here we go, baby. Over here. Oop, oop. Easy, boy. Easy, baby. Easy, baby. Easy. I can't leave you behind, baby. Ooh, easy, baby. Here we go, baby. Up, baby. How you doing?
We'd like a few words with you.
Sure thing. Well, I heard that you caught that guy you was looking for. Read about the trial in the papers.
That's right. Now we're looking for somebody else.
Oh? Well, anything I can do?
You can come along with us.
With you? Well, where?
Headquarters for questioning.
Now, wait a minute. Why me? I mean, well, we can talk about that on the way downtown.
Now, let's do this the easy way, Kruger.
Sure. Okay. I don't want no trouble. No trouble. Look, I left my jacket in the truck. Can I get it? I'll get it. Go get him!
Okay.
Never did get your jacket, did you?
Now, look, I told you, and told you, and told you. Now, I never robbed no jewelry store.
What about this bracelet?
Okay, I admit it. I admit I give it to Molly, but I didn't steal it.
Where'd you get it?
Now, look, I told you.
Tell me again.
Now, look, Sarge, now, how many times do I have to tell you?
Found these in your truck, Kruger. They were tucked away neatly in your upholstery. They match up.
With what?
The man you stole them from, the jeweler in Glendale, he identified them.
That Vanderhooven job. Any of these baubles come from there?
Now, wait a minute. Now, that was a murder. Now, I had nothing to do with that.
I think you did.
Now, look, I don't go around killing people.
You own a gun?
No.
You used it in Glendale?
No.
Just the dog?
No.
No gun or no dog?
No gun.
Just the dog?
No. Yes.
Yes, the gun?
No, just the dog. No gun, just the dog.
All right, Kruger. Let's start all over again. From the beginning. How long have you been here?
About an hour.
Why didn't you come in?
I knew you were busy. I didn't want to disturb you.
Come on in here. Here, Miss Janeway. Drink this.
Couldn't stand being alone. I just wanted to be near someone. It's a long time till Monday.
That the only reason?
When I got home from the hearing, I had a note from the landlord. He doesn't want the wife of a murderer for a tenant.
Do you have a lease?
No. But I don't mind moving. The place has been kind of a jinx anyway. Oh, Mr. Egan, Tom's not a murderer. All he needs is another trial to prove it. He's got a chance, too, hasn't he? A good chance.
Well, the hearing went a lot better than I thought it would.
You didn't answer my question.
Look, Mrs. Janeway, your husband has been convicted of murder. He's been given every conceivable chance to challenge that verdict. But if this hearing doesn't work...
The end, huh? Guilty as charged.
How long have you and Tom been married?
4 years, 10 months, and 8 days. Why?
And he spent 3 of those years in prison.
Are you trying to tell me I don't know my husband?
We can't delude ourselves about it. There is a strong case against your husband.
Are you suggesting that I'm deluding myself about Tom's innocence?
Love and logic don't always mix. We've got to be realistic about it.
And that's just what I am being.
Janeway. All I kept reading about was Janeway. Big headlines about him and his German shepherd knocking over jewelry stores. Big deal. Next to my dog. Janeway's mutt belongs on a roll with mustard.
Wanted to show him up, didn't you?
Was easy. Like I said, all you need is a good dog and a lot of nerve. He kind of give you boys a hard time there for a while, didn't he? A dog like that gets me a lot of respect. Yes, sir.
And maybe the gas chamber.
Lois? It's John Egan. Hey, anybody home? Lois? I've got some good news for a change. Where... Lois, the police just picked up the other dog bandit, a man named Kruger. He's in... What's the matter with you?
Packing. You find things.
What did you find?
Under the footlocker. Under a loose board. The closet.
All right, Lois. What did you find there? .38 caliber. Did you know about this? This could be the murder weapon. The one the police never found.
The police still haven't found it.
Lois, what do you plan to do about it?
He's my husband, Mr. Egan. I love him very much.
He told you he never had a gun. He told you he was innocent. He asked you to believe in him. Lois, you found this gun. Not me. Not the police, just you, all by yourself. Now, what are you going to do about it?
Nothing. You think I'd turn it over to the police? Send my own husband to the gas chamber? Is that what you think?
I think you'll do the right thing. It's 10 o'clock, Lois. I'll be at Jerry Miller's office at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Waiting for you.
Lois, I was hoping that you'd come here today. Just seeing you, the fact that you're here, it means more to me than... What's the matter, Lois? Is there something I don't know about?
I'm not sure.
You know I'm used to bad news. Now, if it's something that...
I'll never get used to bad news, Tom.
I know, Lois, I know what you've been through. It's been rugged. I know what you've gone through. But it'll all be over Monday. We're going to have some good news for a change. I'm sure of that, Lois. You are too, aren't you, honey? Okay. I know something's going wrong. Now, what is it? I've got a right to know.
I found your gun, Tom.
What gun?
The one the police didn't find.
Look, are you kidding? You know I don't have a gun.
Under the footlocker. In the closet. The loose floorboard.
What are you talking about?
I believed in you, Tom. You let me believe in you. You let me love you.
Lois, now wait.
Wait. Wait for what? All these years I've waited since the day we were married. Waited for something, for someone that really didn't exist.
Lois,
that never existed at all. That isn't even there.
Got to listen to me now, please. I was scared, Lois. I was frightened just like I was 4 years ago.
You're a murderer.
It wasn't supposed to be that way, Lois. A kid, he grabbed the gun, and I don't know what happened. It went off.
Your gun. The gun that isn't there. I have a husband like that. I love him. I trust him. I believe in him with all my heart. But he just isn't there. He really isn't there at all.
Lois, you're not going to tell him about the gun, are you?
I don't know.
I did it for you, Lois. You got to understand that everything I've ever done, I've done for you. I love you. You know that. And you love me.
Love you? A thief? A liar? A killer? I couldn't love you. Not anymore. Never.
Nice work, Irish.
What?
I don't know what word you used, but whatever you told him, it had the right effect.
Mrs. Janeway.
I came early. Seemed foolish to wait.
Ballistics has the gun. Now, tell me this. Do you want to tell Judge Richardson about this, or shall I?
It's all yours, Jerry.
On one condition. That Mr. Egan asked the governor to commute the sentence. Will you help Mr. Miller?
I'll do everything I can. That's a promise. You want to know something, Counselor? That's a remarkable woman. Remarkable. Excuse me.
Lois, you want Tom's sentence commuted for his sake or yours?
Both. His life, my conscience.
Your conscience should be in excellent shape.
I don't know. Look at me. All of a sudden, I'm alone. Completely alone.
With the one person you can trust implicitly.
John Egan.
Lois Janeway. To quote Jerry Miller, a remarkable woman. Remarkable.